Safety video for NMIMS Mukesh Patel Auditorium.
Hello everybody, I am Inauguration Fire and Safety Officer for SVKM'S NMIMS. I am here to guide you on Mukesh Patel Auditorium safety exits.
There are a total of 8 doors and 6 exits. Both middle exits will take you to the same outer area. At all times, on each exit, safety personnel and ushers are always there to guide you in case of an emergency. Your safety is our responsibility. Do not panic. Stay calm. Do not run. Follow the given instructions. It is not safe to wander on your own. Now, let's get out from each exit. For audiences sitting in the front or middle, you have exits on your right and left. A total of 4 doors. Choose comfortably. Once you are out from your left, take left and walk straight till the end. Cross the passage. Take another left. You will come to an area where you will find stairs and escalators. For people coming from the right exit, safety video for NMIMS Mukesh Patel Auditorium.
Hello everybody, I am Inauguration Fire and Safety Officer for SVKM'S NMIMS. I am here to guide you on Mukesh Patel Auditorium safety exits.
There are a total of 8 doors and 6 exits. Both middle exits will take you to the same outer area. At all times, on each exit, safety personnel and ushers are always there to guide you in case of an emergency. Your safety is our responsibility. Do not panic. Stay calm. Do not run. Follow the given instructions. It is not safe to wander on your own. Now, let's get out from each exit. For audiences sitting in the front or middle, you have exits on your right and left. A total of 4 doors. Choose comfortably. Once you are out from your left, take left and walk straight till the end. Cross the passage. Take another left. You will come to an area where you will find stairs and escalators. For people coming from the right exit, once you are out, you too will come to the same area. In case, due to safety reasons, if escalators are shut down, then use them as stairs, and from both right and left, you will come up to this common area, which is the way out. For people at the back, take the nearest door to you, come out, take left, cross the passage, take left. You will come directly to the common area. Likewise, for dignitaries and performing participants or people on or backstage, they also have 2 exits. If you are facing the audience, then at your right, this is the exit. Move out, take right, walk straight and take the stairs. Similarly, from your left, come out and take the same stairs to go out. You are safely out from all exits. At NMIMS, safety is our biggest priority. So you will see signage, fire extinguishers, open spaces, and proper adequate exits for your convenience.
I hope this video has helped you to understand the emergency exits. Thank you and be safe.
Out from each exit. For audiences sitting in the front or middle, you have exits on your right and left. A total of 4 doors. Choose comfortably. Once you are out from your left, take left and walk straight till the end. Cross the passage. Take another left. You will come to an area where you will find stairs and escalators. For people coming from the right exit, once you are out, you too will come to the same area. In case, due to safety reasons, if escalators are shut down, then use them as stairs, and from both right and left, you will come up to this common area, which is the way out. For people at the back, take the nearest door to you, come out, take left, cross the passage, take left. You will come directly to the common area. Likewise, for dignitaries and performing participants or people on or backstage, they also have 2 exits. And take the stairs. Similarly, from your left, come out and take the same stairs to go out. You are safely out from all exits. At NMIMS, safety is our biggest priority. So you will see signage, fire extinguishers, open spaces, and proper adequate exits for your convenience.
I hope this video has helped you to understand the emergency exits. Thank you and be safe.
Is sitting in the front or middle. You have exits on your right and left. A total of 4 doors. Choose comfortably. Once you are out from your left, take left and walk straight till the end. Cross the passage. Take another left. You will come to an area where you will find stairs and escalators. For people coming from the right exit, once you are out, you too will come to the same area. In case, due to safety reasons, if escalators are shut down, then use them as stairs, and from both right and left, you will come up to this common area, which is the way out. For people at the back, take the nearest door to you, come out, take left, cross the passage, take left. You will come directly to the common area. Likewise, for dignitaries and performing participants or people on or backstage, they also have 2 exits. If you are facing the audience, then at your right, this is the exit. Move out, take right, walk straight and take the stairs. Similarly, from your left, come out and take the same stairs to go out.
at our time it was, the auditorium was not even an auditorium. It was a big hall. You spent some time in the old building.
I was there like the first trimester.
Okay.
Around September, October.
And then they
एक ही था हमारे पास नहीं दो trimester. Then it went under redevelopment.
So this happened to us for GR Jani also. So first year we were in the hostel. उसके बाद it went for redevelopment. Then we were shifted. Okay.
Okay, please settle down. All right, do I have your attention, please? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we look forward to a great enriching panel discussion with our esteemed panelists today. Let me begin by giving a brief profile of the speakers. So first, on my extreme left, Mr. Anurag Mathur. Post-qualification, after his management degree in finance, Anurag started working at a bulge bracket investment bank before joining Aditya Birla Capital, where he was exposed to mutual fund sales, institutional and retail, life insurance sales, institutional, before heading cross-sell across all institutional clients of ABC. Currently, Anurag is undergoing a role expansion, making him an apt speaker for today's theme. Anurag also worked with Birla Sun Life Insurance for 9 years, undertaking the initiative for inorganic growth as part of the role. Welcome to you, Anurag. Next, we have Ms. Anchal Bhugra Kothari. Anchal currently serves as Vice President and Head of Talent Management for Manufacturing at Reliance Industries. Anchal joined RIL in 2011 as a management trainee from NMIMS after graduating with the Dean's List Honor and the Chancellor's Gold Medal for Best All-Round Performance. She was fast-tracked as one of the youngest leaders of RIL after having been selected on Reliance's Career Acceleration Program for Young Talent. Outside Reliance, she has been recognized by People Matters magazine as one among the emerging HR leaders in India, as well as by Jombe, a leading assessments organization, as one among 40 under 40 HR professionals in the country. Anchal is a certified MBTI personality type assessor and master interviewer and trainer on behavioral event interviewing skills. She has recently completed an MDP from the ISB Hyderabad. Welcome back, Anchal. And to my left, I have Gaurav Nigam. Gaurav is currently SVP and Business Head of Enterprise Business and leads the BFSI business, including client engagement, new solutions, product and service line extensions, and delivery at an IIT. With nearly 18 years of diversified experience across banking, insurance, wealth management, and consulting domains with companies like Citibank, Niva Bupa, ICICI Bank, and Deloitte. He has expertise in building businesses from scratch and has contributed immensely towards expanding market reach and product strategy for the company, both in domestic and international markets. Gaurav has completed his MBA in marketing from NMIMS in 2005. Gaurav, welcome. We look forward to hearing from you. Now let me just introduce the theme of the discussion today. So the theme that we are going to discuss is range or depth, future skills and synergies for corporate India. Now if you look at what the research tells us, it's been summarized aptly in 2 books, but unfortunately they give us varied perspectives. So you have Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, where he propagates the idea that what has become popularly known as the 10,000 hours rule. You need to spend 10,000 hours at an activity to be really good at it, particularly if it's a complex task. Which basically means that you need to specialize spending close to 7 to 10 years, in one thing in your career. And on the other hand, you have another book called Range by David Epstein, which says that given the dynamic and uncertain corporate environment, people who can adapt, the journalists are better off. Now, caught between these 2 perspectives, I know, dear students, I'm sure, you have a lot of questions in your specific context, because each of you has, you are looking at specific domains or functions. Each of you brings specific skills and experiences, and you have also the preferences. Some of you want to be experts, some of you want to be well-rounded, right? So how do we handle this question in your specific context? So I'm sure that therefore this topic, this theme, is of great relevance and interest to you. And I'm sure that the inputs from this panel discussion will provide you some guidance as to how to navigate and prepare for handling the trade-off between depth and range. Okay. With that, let me begin with the topic. So what we are going to do is we'll have a structured discussion for some time. And at the conclusion of that, after that, I'm going to leave the floor open for taking questions from you, all right? So we'll begin. And to start, I'll request each of the panelists to share their opening remarks on the theme. I'll start with you, Anurag.
So yeah, it's a very exciting question, and especially for people at your age, because like Professor said, we at that age, and I've gone through this, we've all gone through this, all the panelists sitting here, and not very long ago, and we know what it feels, but what is it that we need to do? What is it that we need to focus on? Do we go in for range? Do we go in for depth? And yes, these 2 books are something which I would also recommend that all of you get a chance and go through it. It'll give you a very good what happens essentially is you need to first determine what is it. Like the professor said, what are your skills and what are your abilities? There are people who are more suited, and I think Anchal will elaborate a little bit more on that, being the certified MBTI person here. So there are people who are introverts, there are people who are extroverts, there are people who have jobs which demand a certain amount of specialization. They don't want to meet anybody, they don't want to go anywhere, they just want to get better and better and better in terms of what they do individually. And they become very successful. And there are other people who just can't be sitting at one place at one point in time. Typically people in sales, we have seen a lot of extroverts in that area, and they consider themselves to be range. But my sense is, and we'll do this when we have the questions coming up, is that range and depth are more a function of what suits you first. But depth is what I would plumb for. Sorry, bad pun, but yeah, depth is what I would plumb for. Depth is what you would need to start your career with.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here on campus again. So when I got the topic for this particular discussion, as a good panelist and also as a past MBA student myself, the first thing that I did was Google search, right? And if you key in future skills, the search result that I ended up getting was to a number that obviously I can't even count up to. But from what I recollect, there were at least 3 non-zero numbers in the beginning and some 7 zeros after that. And all in a matter of 0.68 seconds or something like that. The fact that we're trying to come to here is that there is so much perspective on this aspect of future skills simply because it's in the future and it is for everyone to predict, right? So the good thing about it is when the future is here and you are not quite ready, you don't feel so guilty because kal kisne dekha hai, right? But unfortunately, that does not really give us an excuse to not be ready when the future is really here. And that got me thinking into, is there some structured way in at least which we can look at this entire piece on future skills? One very interesting perspective that I came out with, I mean, it is not intellectual property, I was reading something and it just struck me that there's a very simple way to look at these future skills, and it essentially comes in this broad categorization of 3 areas. The first one is cognitive skills, second one being some sort of social or emotional skills, and the third one being practical skills. And interestingly, much of our conversation always is in this domain of practical skills. And thank God for that, because most of these skills are quite learnable. And even our discussion today on range or depth is broadly going to be in these areas because this is the dynamic aspect of skills. If you have a technological disruption, if you have something in the environment that changes, or even something like the pandemic, which is sort of behind us now, it always brings up some new sets of skills that you are required to adapt to. So the practical skills element of it is what I think is going to be our focus for today. But the first two, which we don't talk about as much, which is your cognitive skills and your social emotional skills, I think were true yesterday, they are true today, and they are going to be true for you in the times to come as well. So while you may have an excuse for not having some future skills, you don't have an excuse for the other two. So at least start working on these today is where I think we should start off our conversation, yeah.
Thanks for that.
So that is coming from an HR, so you can understand that, right? So being a sales guy all throughout, I think the range and depth, and for me, since I've changed industries multiple times, I think I will always go with range. So to say, when I was sitting on the other side of it, I think one thing which was, when I was looking at what I should do, which should I go for marketing, finance, a combination, or a marketing and engineering, being a computer science engineer, you wanted to go, okay, information systems to karna chahiye, plus I would want to do marketing, right? So I would rather want to have that thing in my mind. But then if you ask me right now, and let's just ask you a question to all of you, you need not answer because you don't have mic, first of all, and then any which ways, we're not going to ask you that. But I'm just asking, how many of the computer science engineers right now in the country knows coding, right? 4 years, all of us have spent so much time doing computer science engineering because we always knew that we have to get into a post-graduation and all of that. We would give some time to it. We know how the engineering any which ways happen in this country right now. I'm not talking about the top quartile of the colleges, but even the top quartile of the colleges, we know how many people are very, very serious about coding, right? So it's just a thing, as in, okay, I would want to learn Python, I would want to learn programming here and there, and now with the generative AI coming into picture, I think the life is super easy for everyone, right? Now these are skills which we would want to probably talk about. But are you first of all very, very clear yourself that what you want to do? Well, we always say that, okay, do what you like. The challenge maybe for a lot of us is I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what my liking is. So I would rather flip it around. You at least know what you don't like. So don't do that. Don't force yourself to do what you don't like. Try to understand, I think next 2 years, and right now we will all talk about it, there are certain skills which are super important for each one of you to succeed in your life, right? Now, these are the skills which you want to focus on. Now, these skills are not specific to whether you're going to go to finance or marketing or information systems or HR, so on and so forth. These are sustainable skills. And this is required for each one of you to move past and to succeed and grow in your career. And we'll talk about it maybe in details. So that's about it from me. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm very happy that we got authentic responses from what all of you have gone through in your own experiences. So let me now begin with specific questions following this good opening. So my first question comes to the crux of the trade-off, right? So I'll perhaps request Anchal to address it first. In your opinion, is it more important for students to develop a wide range of skills today, or should they first try to get deep expertise in a specific area?
I've been strategically positioned in between somebody who said depth and somebody who said range, and it's not a good situation to be in first. So I'll be an HR person out, and I'll say it depends. Okay, and I'll try speaking like that only. But on a more serious note, see, if I think of something like what requires deep skills, the first thing that comes to my mind is careers that essentially would require you to put in years of study or bring in years of experience. And, it could be something as extreme as things that come from the deep sciences, right? Where you have the laws of physics, chemistry, biology governing everything. And, you just can't wing it, right? You need to have mastery in those areas. And that's where the depth comes in. That's where you build your careers. And, in a way, since again I'm from HR, I'd love to throw in some jargon. We call these I-shaped careers, right? When you type in I, you get a straight line, right? So that's the depth, that signifies depth. And these are in those areas where you actually go about building deep skills. But let's go to what an expectation generally is from a management student. And more so if you are looking at management students who are coming from tier 1 institutes like all of you, when you are brought on board into an organization, you are being looked at as a future leadership pipeline of the organization. And when you look at leadership, in most cases than others, there is always, by nature of the role itself, a requirement to work and integrate across, right? So when you start off in your careers, you will have a core area that you would typically start building upon. That would be some area of expertise which you will discover through, either just by being there or just by having worked with it. But that will essentially bring that depth to your portfolio. But you will realize that at a particular point in time, there is going to be, a lateral branching out. And that is when you will need to work and influence beyond your immediate jobs on a day-to-day basis. And that is, that is where the adjacencies of your work start coming into play. And that's where range becomes important to all of you. So I spoke about an I earlier. This looks like a T, right? So when you're just building your depth and suddenly you start building the lateral or the horizontal itself, it's a T-shaped career for more often than not for most of the people. That's not to say that all leadership roles are like that. So say, for example, if I'm working in a treasury, it takes long years of expertise to lead a treasury in any organization. And also there is an element of personal aspiration, as Gaurav was also sharing. If I'm working in the HR function, I love compensation as a subject. I could probably be doing compensation for the rest of my life if that excites me so much. I'd probably get out of an organization, become the best compensation consultant there is, and that's absolutely okay. So the fact is that you need to understand what a career that requires depth of skills looks like and what one with a range of skills actually looks like. And if you want to really do that, then my submission to you is, as you start off your careers, start off as an explorer. And when you talk about that, you're essentially meaning, as Gaurav rightly put it, even understand what you don't want to do if you're not very sure what you want to do. When you get into your portfolios or your profiles, don't put horse blinkers on and just do that. Try and take that stretch project, try and do an assignment, try and take a lateral move to know what the world beyond that portfolio that you are given looks like. Because once you get to something like a mid-career stage, you're going to have to start that branching. You will need to identify whether those careers that require depth of skills excite you, or do careers that require range actually get your heart racing. Because beyond that, you would see yourself hitting some early leadership rungs, and then the consolidation begins, right? So I think if I have to just put a structure to it, maybe, start as an explorer, try to branch out, and then begin your consolidation. If your skill ramp up can, look at that structure, I think you will be comfortable in whichever position you get to in the future.
Gaurav, you want to add to that? Would you say that you should always be a bread person? And
Okay, so let me put it that way, like Ashil rightly said, and it is not that you should not look an I career. I is always I, right? For me, I think tea is something which is better because I like tea any which ways. I'm not a coffee person, so maybe I always go for tea. But yeah, so horizontal thing is what I look forward to, because see, and there's, see, let me put it that way, and she beautifully articulated that, if somebody's getting into corporate finance, if somebody's getting into investment banking, somebody's getting into treasury, right? Or somebody's into hardcore R&D, analyst profiles. Now, these are deep skilling profiles, very, very deep. You need 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And the more experience you have in a particular profile, the bigger your say is. And that's how it is, right? So that's where it comes. Now, there are a lot of generalist profiles. Now, these are 80% of the profiles which are generalist in nature, right? Now, if you have to get into a generalist profile, that's where the T typically comes in. Because if somebody has, let's say, built up expertise, right? I would want an expertise, in, assuming if somebody is into research. Now, he would want to get into research, he would genuinely, and we would want that person. But then his skills and his mindset at times will probably go towards that, right? And he could be a great SME, he could be a great person to talk about it. But from an adaptability perspective, if there's a challenge which is thrown to a particular person, now that because of that challenge, he will think from that perspective because he's been 15 years, 20 years in the particular line. But when you typically move on, that, okay, I'm flexible, I'm adaptable, I could collaborate with anyone and everyone. That's where my T-shaped career, now we are still talking about, I don't know, letters and letters. But yeah, so that's how it is, right? So you would want to go for a generalist profile till the time you understand where do you want to do. Like I said, you, right now, and you would have your lot of colleagues and friends and family members who would have gone through MBA. People will still talk to you. Acha, MBA mein karte kya? Ye to bata do pehle. Right? That's a common question your family members will also ask. Now you will say, it's a generalist, you have marketing karte, hum finance karte, hum ye karte, hum wo karte. These are like gyan at times, right? So please understand, when you actually start your career, you would want to see where you want, and which is where you have to get skilled in each and every language. Now assuming, while we talk about generative, and I am not a, let's say, an IT guy, I would want to get into a finance or banking or whatever career, or maybe a consumer durables industry or FMCG company. I don't need technology, right? But right now, you have to be part of that technology revolution. Everybody is digitally transformed. And if digital transformation is happening at that level, you need to know what generative AI is. Right? You have to get into that lines. If you are not in line with what is happening in the world, sometimes you will get left out, which you would not want. And which is why you need to have at least acquire the skill sets and the mindset as well, both in getting to know different industries, different profiles, and then take a call, maybe 5 years down the line, 7 years down the line, would want to be in generalist profile, or you would want to get into a deep profile. That's completely up to you. But that's how it is, right? So that's from me.
Thank you. Anurag, you bat for depth, right?
Yes.
So would you say that's more applicable for certain kind of domains or sectors, or does that apply
Yeah, very much. So if you're looking at technical sectors, if you're looking at technical domains, if you're looking at, wanting to get into something like healthcare or even where I come from, which is financial services, I mean, the depth is so deep. I mean, and because you see, the term that we use, we call it BFSI, that's banking and financial services, essentially dealing with two types of companies. One is the banks and the other is the NBFCs. But within banks and NBFCs, there are so many specialized functions. So for example, in a bank, a person who's doing transaction banking has absolutely no role in an NBFC. Okay? A person who's doing remittances, and they're very good at it, has no role in an NBFC. So even within that space, there is so much of, technical knowledge that you need, that you have to have depth. And you see, the thing is, when we get into an MBA program, and my talk is only going to be about my experience, so yeah. You feel, one felt very entitled, कि भाई अब हमने MBA कर रहे हैं, तो हम तो manager ही बनेंगे बड़े होके, what else, That's the first thing you realize, that you are supposed to be leading a team, and all your aspirations are centering around how quickly can you get to be leading a team. But the point is, that's not how the real life works. So the real life works, the first thing that I was told in my first job, and I wanted to be an investment banker. I told you I started at the bulge bracket investment banking company. I said, I'm going to be an investment banker, I'm going to be advising clients, and this and that and the other. And the first thing I get to do is to proofread. And I was like, what? Seriously? They said, yeah, if you don't proofread the offer document, you won't know what's there inside it. And that's how the company started my, depth journey. And okay, I was reasonably good at equity analysis, and I wanted a position there. But then as I grew, I realized that life was not just about I and not just about T. Life was what I would call a V. Okay, so you start with depth, you become very good in what you are, and then you keep expanding as you grow ahead, and you keep on finding applications for what you are good at, right? So equity research basically meant having a good knowledge of the capital markets, having a good knowledge of the balance sheet. The next industry that I went to apply it to was the mutual funds. And that's when I joined Aditya Birla Capital, selling mutual funds. Because I was good at equity, because I was good at balance sheets, I was able to do a pretty reasonable job as a branch head for them. They quickly promoted me to a regional head. And then the insurance guys came calling. And they came calling not for a typical insurance as you talk about insurance, but they came calling for management of gratuity funds, which is very similar to, mutual funds. So they said, we want you to, lead that department for us for our East Zone. Now here is a transferability of skill. Okay, so when you have the depth, when you have the technical knowledge, it's easier for you to transfer that skill into another area as you are expanding on the range. Now see what's happening here. So I start off as an equity analyst guy, then I move into a mutual fund, and then I move into selling something into life insurance. Once you get into life insurance, and then you get lending is the next step, which is the role transition that Prof is speaking about, which is what I'm currently, going to be driving from this month onwards. So my life has essentially been a V. You start with an I, but as your I develops towards the T, the shape it takes is that of a V. So that's the reason it's better that you start with a depth. Now, the other perspective, when we are hiring you, so now Aditya Birla Capital, at Aditya Birla Group, we tend to confuse all of you. So we take people, and the first thing that we do is we put you guys through a 2-year rigorous program called Lead Leap program. And that essentially takes you across very different divisions. So every 6 months, you spend a lot of time across the different divisions of ABG Group, where we try and figure out, and you try and figure out what you like to do. And then we put you into that particular area, and, develop your skills further, taking it forward. And like what Anchal said very clearly, is that all big corporates, when they are looking at prestigious institutions like this, we are looking at trying to build our leadership pipeline. And when you're trying to build a leadership pipeline, you want people who are adaptable, who are flexible. And when you're looking at people who are adaptable and flexible, who are able to drive that V, the first thing that they need to know is what is their I, what is the depth, where is it that they are good at. So like Anchal gave the example of somebody being a compensation specialist, I spoke about being an equity research specialist. That is what has helped us to grow in our careers. It has helped us to take the T, very quickly forward, primarily because we were good at one thing that we wanted to be good at.
Okay. Anchal, you want to add something to that?
I was just thinking, I mean, you know, they've come to school and they're totally learning ABC again. So at least they can answer कि तुम क्या पढ़ते हो B school में बोले हम ABC सिखा रहे हैं नई टाइप की सिखा रहे हैं but सीख रहे हैं कुछ तो. So I was just thinking from a different lens of you know how these two complement each other, because clearly I think what we're hearing from each one of us is this, that you know nobody is actually coming to one point to say that you know this is what you should do or this is what you should do. Because in a way, I think range and depth complement each other. I think it's about depth is put to use by people who bring range, and it is also true the other way around. Probably I'll just think of an example. You know, I'm coming from the oil and gas industry. Any one of you can tell me what is the potential linkage between a barrel of crude oil, thick, viscous, dirty, black, smelling, which is probably mined off in an oil well in Venezuela, and this bottle that we have here, nice, shiny, clean. Any idea? I'm sure lots of engineers here. Petrochemicals, right? So this bottle is coming from plastic which was derived from certain chemicals which came off as a byproduct of the refining of that crude oil, which came into a refinery essentially to get out some fuels, which could be fueling everything from a scooter to an airplane. This came into becoming a bottle. It also went into some chemicals that make up the detergents, the polyester clothes that you wear. Now, all of this is possible because there were certain people with range, with depth, who were actually working to make this happen. It took a lot of intelligent scientific application of concepts, deep knowledge of concepts to actually bring it to what it looks like today, right? So, bottle bhi kabhi tel ki boond thi type of scenario right now. That was depth. But the fact that this bottle is here in NMIMS, in Mukesh Patel Auditorium, in front of you and in front of a customer is what the people with range did, right? They figured out where this bottle would be required, when, for what purpose, at what price, beating what competition. And because somebody was able to look at it from that view, did this bottle reach here, right? So that is how it essentially operates. You look at anything. If I'm looking at a very science-driven organization, you look at a Tesla or even closer home, Serum Institute of India, the most in the news because of the vaccines. They're driven by people with deep skills, but it is people with range who actually bring their products to commercialization. Look at it from the flip side of it. All of us use Zomato, Swiggy, right? There is a lot of people with range who operate all of that because they're operating in that environment where they have to process multiple aspects and dimensions together. But they can't bring a product of that nature to you till that beautiful platform is built by experts who bring in that knowledge to build a platform of that scale, right? So the way it's coming, or it looks like in my mind, is when you construct a house, right? You have these pillars that stand, and then you have these floors that come together. And only when both of these are together, the house looks complete. So that's how the skill house is for each organization. Whether it requires more people with range or whether it requires more people with depth completely depends on what the output of that particular organization is. So what role you find in that organization will actually determine the skills that are more in demand in that particular setup.
Okay, thank you. I'll come to the next question. I find a lot of times the students, they are aware of the fact that they need to stay relevant and have to adapt. And in the process, they try to, even while they're studying their MBA, they try to do a lot of certifications and other courses. And they're often wondering whether they should do it now or should they do it later. Is it essential that they should, try to skill themselves, make their life more difficult while they're in the campus, or they should wait, see how it goes and then decide? Any of you can.
Yeah, I think you should do all these certifications and ensure that your life is hell while you are in college for 2 years. No, the idea is any which ways, whatever we say, you will still do it. It's not just about you, it's about the person sitting next to you. He's doing it, so you will do it. And that's called the rat race. And all of us are part of it, right? Everybody will do it. I think that NCFM के सारे मुझे test करने ही करने हैं. There are half of the people who will say, okay, I have to go for a CFA because I'm doing MBA finance. If I have a CFA degree as well, this will help. I think I should start with CFP also. That's how it starts, right? And you will keep on doing multiple of these certifications thanks to a lot of these edtech firms like ours. You have enough and more plethora of these certifications and people will start talking about it, right? So those certifications are really, really important. And that will give you that range. That will also give you some bit of depth. Now, like Anurag was saying, that capital markets. Now, if you are keen on capital markets, I think that's where it is. Personal example, I started with as an analyst profile in Deloitte and all. Again, being a techie and a marketing guy, I thought the CRMs of the world and a technology company में marketing करेंगे, so it will have a combination of engineering plus marketing, and that's what I would want to do. And that's what I started off. But here in NMIMS only, that was keyed out, that because sitting in Bombay, I think let me be very, very frank with you. I think not just the campus, the city will grow over you, with the people who are from outside. You will get into those capital markets, you will get into those share trading, and by default, all of you would open your money control accounts because economic times हम बचपन से पढ़ते आ रहे हैं. ये तो बोला गया है कि अगर MBA करना है तो you should read economic times, Mint and all of that. If you don't read this, how can you even go for an MBA institute? Right? That's how it is. And that will grow into you. And that's where, in fact, during my early years, and this is like years back, right? 15, 18 years back I'm talking about. At that time also, and उस समय ये zerodhas of the world were not there, right? It was non-existent. ICICI Direct was just started. So you had these paper wale forms, and we just next to Amitabh's bungalow, there's this Bonanza portfolio office. We used to go there. We will do a lot of these internships, right? Now imagine me, I was doing, at that time there was something called Satyam Computers. I don't know, half of you would not even recognize this. But Satyam Computers hota tha, right? So I was doing internship in Satyam Computers. I did my summers in Coke. And I was doing half of my internships or some of these additional things on Bonanza portfolio, which was share trading organization. It was a broking company. And between the three, while I was selling, vanilla Coke launch hua tha, right? So I was part of that and I was very, very happy about it. But I was selling vanilla Coke. But frankly, what really, really bit me or probably helped me grow is that selling those IPOs to those customers and making those 200 rupees, 300 rupees per form. And that started. And you will eventually, because all of you are freshers, you will eventually get into this. You will have a lot of these mock stock games. If you're not even already having it, you will start participating in it across B schools, here, there, everywhere, and we'll try to win it. We also did the same thing. And that's how you get interested in something, right? So while I went, now imagine, my mind was to get into banking and finance, into capital markets, because that's what my passion was. But my heart was saying that, being an engineer in MBA, and these are great companies, so you want to get into consulting and went into consulting. In few years' time, I said I will leave, and then I moved into wealth management, which was in ICICI Bank. There was something called Global Private Clients in IBG Group. So I went there because that was something which was always there. And till now, obviously, I follow these capital markets. So the idea is, yes, those certifications will matter. You will keep on doing it. You will keep on gathering a lot of these certifications. But like we were discussing, the skill sets, I think there are certain skill sets which you should genuinely keep in mind. It doesn't really matter which company, because it's just about a matter of, you will have, and I'm sure all of you would have read multiple of these motivational books as well, right? The secrets of the world, ki kya hoga, kya chahiye, wo milega, right? It will obviously happen. It's not that it's not going to happen. But then at least some 5-6 basic skill sets is what you have to adopt, which you have to work on, and ensure that each and every project, the next 2 years when you are here, try to follow those skill sets, right? And for me, I have acronymed it myself, it's called CIRCA, and as I've been following it. CIRCA is something approximate, who will approximate CIRCA as a meaning is approximate or roughly. But those 5 things has typically worked, which is CIRCA. Now again, these are 5 alphabets, so we are teaching you English right now. Right? So CIRCA, and C is collaboration for me, I is innovation, R is resilience. Okay, then another C, which is called critical thinking, and A is adaptability. Now all these 5 skill sets, it is not, while you get those certifications, because it's really, really important, resume भरने में जब 4 certification लिखोगे, 6 certification लिखोगे, 8 certification लिखोगे, it obviously gives a nice picture. More importantly, it's not gives you a nice picture, but then even if 10% or 20% of that certification course which you have done, and if you remember that, you'll be better off. And you understand, and when you answer some of these questions and the queries the interviewer will be asking you, you can correlate and have multiple structured discussion with that interviewer, right? So it is important, go and get these things. Get into digital. I think data is something which, irrespective whether you're in HR, in marketing, finance, I think data is something which you need to know. If you don't know how to analyze data, trust me, you're nowhere. By default, you need to know. There'll be loads and bytes of data which will be thrown to you, right? Now, Anurag works in BFSI. Now, in BFSI, you get so much of data. In a simple setup, in a branch setup, if I am the branch manager of a particular bank, right, I have loads and loads of information of each and every customer account. Now, imagine, how do I know, if I'm a branch manager, if I want to sell, let's say, home loans to someone, or a credit card to someone, or an insurance policy to someone, how do I know who are those prospective customers? Basic, simple thing is just the data. These customers would have credit cards, these customers would have their salary accounts coming into a branch. What will I do? I will just say, okay, let me analyze. Now this guy has spent on his credit cards in hospitals for some time, which means he needs a health insurance or a life insurance, right? He's going abroad a lot of times. He needs a Forex card, right? And a travel insurance for that matter. I can also see that, okay, there is an EMI payment which is going to some other account. Maybe if I am working for Bank A and there's a Bank B EMI coming into my account, I will say, why the hell this guy is going to account B or Bank B to pay the mortgage? I would rather want to just call this guy and say, what is the mortgage deal you have got? If it's 8.7%, whatever the percentage is, I will better it off. I will throw in some additional value adds and say, you please switch over your mortgage to me. Now, how will you do that? There are thousands of these customers in the branch. You will be only able to do this when you analyze their data. So one, digital is something you can't live away with. And be it in finance, be it in HR, everywhere, you need to analyze the data so and so forth that your life depends on it, right? You will make great PPTs, and like I said, now though it's very, very easy. At least in our times, it was difficult. You need to come up with multiple ideas. Now though you just go to ChatGPT, cut, you will have the entire data sets. You need to know, cut, dal diya. It's so easy, right? So though that information is very easily accessible to you, which was not the case maybe earlier. But how to make sense of that information, how to put it in right words, that is something which you need to know, and for which you need to obviously work upon your digital skills. And the 5 basic sets. You need to know collaboration is very easy. But then when you start doing those, too early for you because you just started, by the way. But when you get into those projects and you will say, okay, we are 6-member team or a 8-member team. There are 2 people who are very smart. Those 2 will do the entire project. The balance 6 will, kuch kaam hai to batana. That's how it is, right? But that's not power of collaboration. That okay, I'm there, support, पीछे हूँ, आप आगे बढ़ो. वो नहीं होता, right? वो मोदी जी की philosophy में होता है. But that's the idea. The idea is you need to collaborate, you need to know, and even if it doesn't make sense for you, even if it's difficult for you, please go and collaborate to whatever extent you have. You need to be adaptable because life will throw you a lot of challenges. This 2 years is going to be honeymoon period for all of you. When you get into corporate, it's a challenging battlefield altogether. You don't know what will happen to you, right? So you need to face those challenges. You need to be resilient. You need to understand. You need to be adaptive. You need to be a quick learner as well. You would not get time. So these are the skills you would rather want to win. And irrespective of the certifications, frankly, Sachin, I think if I say 5 certifications, they will do any which way 10. That I'm very, very clear of. Anything?
Yeah.
So basically, taking on from what Gaurav said, just 2 things which I can sort of summarize depending on what he said. One is, yes, the power of AI. Now I'm going to flip that a bit, the power of AI. And I'm going to ask you a simple question. If I have an AI robot sitting next to me and I have a person sitting next to me for an interview, who do you think I'm going to hire and why? The AI person is not going to ask me for a raise. He's not going to ask me for anything except a basic, I think, environment to work on. And I feed that person data and that answer comes back to me, right? That's the reason why a lot of jobs these days are being taken away by AI. So if you're looking at a career which is going to be only based on AI, you have a problem, my friend. Therefore you need the other skills that he spoke about. And I'm also connecting this with what Anchal spoke about in terms of, behavioral skills. At the end of the day, humans are going to be dealing with humans. In our, like I've done institutional cross-sell, and the famous saying that we have in institutional cross-sell is this, that businesses don't sell to businesses, people sell to people. So what's very, very important for you guys to be able to want to develop in these 2 years that you're here, regardless of whatever certifications you have or you don't have, are your people skills. You analyze the data, like Gaurav said, right? But what does it essentially tell you? It tells you how is this person behaving or going to behave, right? It's about the person. It's not about the data itself. It's about what you analyze from the data. And what you analyze from the data is a function of how your customer is going to be able to want to react to it. You come out with a product, you come out with a service, you come out with an offering. What is the first question? Now, if you look at any venture capitalist, what is the first question they ask you when you go to them with your project or your idea? What is the problem that this invention is going to solve? And why do they ask you that question? Because it's all about humans. So if it's all about humans, the space that you want to be in is a space where AI cannot get into, is a space which requires a lot more. While you do your depth and you do all the stuff that we spoke about, it's very critical for you, in addition to your certifications, to be able to build on your people skills, to build on your influencing skills. So when this example of what Gaurav gave in terms of a team, you will find as you go along, and this is has been my experience across MBA institutes, across batches, that you will find this kind of people, and even in the corporate world, mind you, in a team, where you have 2 people who will do all the work, 2 people who will do absolutely nothing, and the other 2 people will be, trying to get something done in between the 2. How do you develop as a leader? You develop as a leader by getting all of them, like Gaurav said, to collaborate together, build their skills together, build their motivations together to be able to work. And that, when you build those kind of skills in yourself, then is when you advance in your careers. So do your depth, all right, but to build that range, to come up to from the I to the T, the V-shaped path that you need to take is going to be requiring you to build a lot of your people and behavioral skills.
I'm very tempted. I'm just thinking, sorry, maybe speaking out of turn, but this entire concept of group working, and by our time it became a division of labor. It was like, tu finance ka dekhna, tu HR ka dekhna, tu marketing ka dekhna, and nobody would talk in each other. Like, the responsibilities are completely aligned and divided. So that is work allocation. That's the stupidest mistake you will do. Please don't do that. And I'm telling you because this is the start point of actually building a perspective across, because once you start solving problems in office, you're not going to be solving one problem, because anything that you need to do will have marketing people on your head, will have HR people on your head, will have finance people on your head, irrespective of where you're sitting. And if you don't understand those intricacies or how these things connect with each other or how they influence each other, I think you will have a little bit of a problem, at least moving forward in life. Because the people there's so many who get hired, right? It's always a pyramid in an organization. It doesn't grow like a rectangle. Wow, we're going to shapes now from alphabets. That is because there are people who fall off on the way, right? And when that happens, how does that selection happen? That selection happens when there are people who understand how things link with each other. So please use this opportunity as you're looking at case studies. That's one of the most wonderful things that actually happens. I realize it now after doing case studies 10 years after I'm out of campus, that how brilliant that case study was. Because it doesn't teach you one thing, it teaches you 10 things, but you're just focused on answering that one question, which maybe the professor told you to answer. Which again brings me to one more important point actually, is that try and find the right problem to solve for. And that's where we were all talking about critical thinking and cognitive skills and all of that. That's nothing fancy. There's nothing to do with intelligence. We can't solve for God's mistake if he was not very kind on everybody equally. When we talk about critical thinking, the problem with all of us is that we want to find a good solution to some problem which somebody tells us. We are not actually searching or thinking for a couple of minutes also that is this the right problem to solve for. I'll give you an example. Very recently, we were doing some analysis, and so this is again oil and gas industry. So you hire engineers, right? So you hire engineers to the tune of thousands of engineers in a year. That is the major campus bulk. And what is our problem statement? That most of the engineers leave us in the first 3 years for MBA, right? So everybody is here. So we said, let's solve this campus wala problem. Let's give more salary. Let's go early. Let's do psychometric analysis to understand who has MBA aspiration, who has engineering aspiration. Let's do all of this. And multiple solutions came. Till one person just simply asked a very, very pointed question. Do we even need fresh graduates to do the jobs that we are doing? Why do we need to go to campus? Why do we need to spend so much time on campus? Why can't we invest more in lateral hires? They're already trained. It just flipped the model for us completely. We just focused on a different problem after that. You have to actually spend time surfacing the right problem and then you hunt for the solutions for it. So that is where your critical or cognitive skills kick into play. And there is no special certification that is required to actually develop that muscles. It just takes practice. It takes you that effort of asking 2 or 3 whys every time you look at something. And I think if you can do that and build that muscle over the next 2 years, I think you're going to be in a good place when you graduate from this program.
Thank you. So I think based on the few questions that we have addressed so far, I think there are some useful takeaways. I think the basic question of range versus depth is perhaps not the right question, because I think the answer seems to be you need both. Yes, you cannot have depth in too many domains. So perhaps we are looking at a T-shaped career profile, and and perhaps you will reach there organically by making it V-shaped, starting from where you have or where you have developed your strengths. It's important to get these perhaps get these certifications and depth, but at the same time, skill sets like collaboration, people skills, these are very important, cognitive skills, and I think as MBAs you have a good opportunity to kind of develop these skills while you are in this program. So now I think I'll open the floor to question and answers from the audience. So you can ask your questions and the panel will answer them. Do you have the mics?
So my question was, what are some of the emerging roles for a generalist?
See, it also depends on the industry which you're talking about, right? Now we are talking about, so if you're talking about services, because that's where majority of you will eventually get placed, be it on the IT consulting side or IT companies or banking companies. And we can go by industry and industry, right? So for a generalist profile, by default, first of all, most of you will get into generalist profile only. Let's just talk about it, right? Now, majorly, and this has been there for quite some time, and maybe Achal and Anurag can add to this. In a banking profile, let's just talk about, because I've been into banking a lot. I think you will get into product management as a management trainee. You will get into, as a relationship manager, into sales side of it as well. It completely depends. Or you can get into an analyst kind of profile within a bank. These are the 3 kind of openings, depending on finance, HR, marketing, sales, that ways. But idea is, see, you are among the top colleges in the country, right? So by default, there's a management trainee program in each and every company of repute. They will try to skip you around. Now, like Anurag was saying, and exactly the same thing happened to all of us. 6 months in one role, 6 months another role, 6 months another role. And then it's not that, at least in City I can tell you, now City has now become Access though, it's a different ball game, but at least it was that, okay, 6 months and another 6 months, and if you really like that profile, you don't need to again go for another 6 months. You then probably can continue in City. So that's how it was. But these are the profiles. You at least get a good understanding of all the roles, because these are the roles where you start and you understand. And see, when you're into product management or product kind of role, you need to, and all those skills will come into play. Like Ashil was also saying, that it's not just you are talking to one person. You have to talk to marketing, you have to talk to compliance, you have to talk to legal, you have to talk to product and strategy head, you have to talk to sales, you have to talk to HR, you have to talk to everyone to talk about it. And that's how you grow your career, and at least, and which is where you need to at least have some basic skills to even talk sense to the other side of it. But those are the roles. In IT side, when you typically go, you work as a business analyst. You start with business analyst, and उसमें भी ऐसा नहीं है कि so the idea is business analyst roles are again great. We all know, half of you would be engineers here, any which ways know what a business analyst role is. But yes, if you know the coding language a little bit, it makes more sense. It's not 100% required, it's not compulsory. But if you know the coding, then it makes more sense, because then you value add more, right? And so forth.
I'd just like to add one small little point here. So when you say generalist role, you need to remember that there is no specific thing as a depth role or a generalist role these days at corporates, right? Because a lot of the world has significantly changed since the time all three of us, and different decades we represent actually of graduating from our IMT and from NMS. But the world is, every decade it has seen a change. Okay, and why do companies exist today? Is to simply do one thing, to serve the customer. And in doing so, they don't really care what is their internal structure, as long as the solution to the customer is provided at a profitable price. That's the motto of every organization today. If you go back to the 1950s, or maybe 40s, I don't know, I think Achal has a better understanding of the history of the organization chart as we studied back in our OB. So these days, there is no fixed organization chart. I mean, those charts, they keep changing every 2 years, every 3 years. So you think you're in a generalist role today, you might find yourself in a specialist role tomorrow. But the point is, coming back to your question, even a generalist role requires a certain amount of specialization. So if I talk about, like Gaurav and I, we have this experience of now BFSI sales, correct? Now, BFSI sales, my experience is specific capital markets in BFSI sales, right? And I use that depth in my generalization role in sales. The role that I do today is the most general role of all, which is institutional cross-sell specialist. Cross-sell essentially means trying to get customers of one of my enterprises to become customers of the other. I mean, you can't get more general than that. But it again rests on a certain amount of domain knowledge and a certain amount of specific skill.
It's like you do strategy, business development, those are like those true blue. If you land a portfolio in that, कि भाई generalist है, कुछ पता ही नहीं क्या करना है. Everything is ambiguous. You start anywhere and you can end up anywhere. You can just change the course of the company also. Those are the truly generalist roles. So when you talk about that skill, right, what is a generalist skill? I think the generalist skill is to be able to integrate everything. That is the only skill that you should have. Because like we said, right, practical skills keep changing at every point in time. Today we are talking AI, ML, blockchain, everything fancy. I don't even know what is the definition of most of them, unfortunately. But they will keep changing at all points in time. I think it's just that how fast can you learn? You need to have the agility at all points in time. And equally, like we always say, you need to unlearn faster than you can learn. So only if you can unlearn, then you will be able to make space for new things to learn. So if that is the sort of career that excites you, always just ensure that you have to keep that space open in your mind at all points in time. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Hello. Hi panelists. Thank you very much for the session. My name is Yash Chabra. So I had a question regarding the choice of specialization for us B school students here. So I think from the next week we'll be heading to our regular classes, and at some point of time we'll have to make the choice of a specialization. What is some advice that you would like to give us in terms of selecting our specialization?
So I think that's where this entire conversation of exploration with an open mind starts, right? I mean, I also started out when I started off with my MBA, we didn't have a focused program for HR at that point in time. It was just a core program, and we could branch out into marketing, finance, and HR or whatever it is. I never thought I wanted to do HR. I wanted to do marketing because that is what we understood more, right? Because even today people ask HR look karte kya hai? So even that time we had that question. So I thought I wanted to do marketing, but it was just about what starts picking up your interest. Just don't go with a fixated mindset. I think that will serve you well. It will emerge organically. I think by the next the next 3 odd months before you hit your summer's placement time, there will be a lot that you will get exposed to. There will be multiple classrooms, multiple professors, multiple case studies, multiple assignments. I think if everybody comes in with some sort of a background, right? You might say numbers is where my head is, probably. But it's not necessary that if you like numbers, it's only finance for you. Let's be very mindful of that, right? Analytical skills serves you well irrespective of wherever you want to go. So if the correlation of numbers is the fact that you can solve numerical problems well because you are analytical, it will serve you well irrespective of where you go. So it is not like, there's a correlation कि तुमको finance में ही जाना है. So I think just use that opportunity in the next 3 months to find that space for yourself, and I think you should be good. Attend as many sessions as you can. Listen to whatever things are organized. If there are companies on campus, just go and listen to them. What are the portfolios? What do people do? Ask people what does their day job look like. That will help you refine your thought process a little more.
As she was saying, I was just thinking about the shape that my career has taken, and you said a very relevant point, and it applies to me completely. Okay, just because you're good at numbers doesn't mean that you need to be here. So I'm pretty decently good with numbers. You show me a set of numbers and I'll tell you what's wrong with it. But what do? I do sales. Okay. So yeah, and then I discovered a very interesting truth about what we study at MBA and what happens to us in the real world, especially when it comes to marketing and finance. And that is this: all finance at the end of the day is marketing, and all marketing at the end of the day is finance. So I hope I've confused you enough.
So I was just thinking from the same corollary perspective, and maybe I started with this. Yeah, देखो सबको पता है. I think everybody knows what you are good at and what you are not. For example, when I knew that I don't want to do CFA because there's बहुत सारी पढ़ाई होती है. I don't want to do it, right? So it's inherent. You are here in Bombay. Don't so much overthink about it. Trust me, there are enough and more, and it is not like that कि extrovert है तो marketing में जाएगा and all of that. I have seen the best of the marketers who are super introvert. They are close friends and they are chief marketing officers of multiple of these companies doing excellent. It is not. There is nothing like ये ऐसे होगा तो ये करना है. It's not like that, right? And like Ashal was just saying, go with the flow. You will understand, at least in few quarters, initially few months, you will understand what you want to do, and then take a bet. Irrespective, again, and this to all of you, irrespective, while I have taken finance, and tomorrow after MBA, I am regretting कि यार मुझे ना marketing का लेना चाहिए था. It doesn't really matter, like I said, and like Anurag was saying, everything is sales, right? And everything is finance. So you don't have to worry. Tomorrow you want to move into marketing, you can easily move into sales. You can just change industries. You can do whatever. Yeah. It's just a mindset. End of the day, trust me, after so many years into career, after MBA, initially वो for the next 3-5 years होता है कि तुमने MBA marketing किया है, finance किया है, HR किया है, systems किया है, क्या किया है. After it is MBA from NMIMS, and that's about it. Nobody will even ask you your finance, marketing, HR, whatever. Nobody asks you. That's about it. So just be very, very clear to your mind, and you know what you don't like. Like I said, you don't know the passion. Nobody knows कि मुझे ये करना है, ऐसे ही करना है, इस industry में जाना है. Nobody knows that. As in, at least minuscule 5% would know. But the balance 95% people like me, they put it that way. They don't know what the industry, what the job, what the profile I would want to get into. but I at least know what are those job profiles I would not want to get into. Just keep that in mind and go with the flow. I'm sure you will go and do very well. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Okay. Actually, a very good evening, and I had a question for all the panelists. Like, there's a conspiracy that I had been through while I was preparing for my MBA. That some people did say that Ayush, you should do some WorkX, then you should go for MBA. And I even did 1 year of WorkX, which was in oil and petroleum with Reliance. So, yeah.
Yeah, you should go back. Please join back, huh? And because of people like you, Ajal has to come here and say.
No, sir. I was in design department, so I did design.
Irrespective, please go back. You know what the talent head here, that's the biggest pain. People like you moving from engineering to MBA.
So that's why I'm here to find a solution for that.
So you have already taken the solution. You are not in the double mind. You've already come here now. You can't go back. You also know that, Ayush.
Yes, sir. That's why I'm here to learn HR and find a solution for that. That how to retain the students.
No. By the way, if you ask me, you have done a good job. Okay, so this is oil and gas. Let me just put it through the domain expert now.
No, please blank this out. I didn't respond to this question. I didn't meet this person. I didn't give him any advice. You have nothing to do with Reliance. Okay. No, you've taken up HR, is it?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, so that's wonderful. I mean, I don't know. The question is where. I mean, do you think WorkX is relevant? Do you? Okay,
Yeah,
is the
WorkX
question around
is
is, does WorkX help you, or is it okay? I mean,
Yeah,
is
ma'am,
that-
because many people over here are from diverse background and they have some WorkX and they are still not clear whether to go in a specific field or not. As we were talking about width and depth, so would after 2 years of MBA they would be sure about their like a specific depth they would go in, because they are shifting from different backgrounds even after WorkX. So that's what my question was majorly.
So see, there are different types of people who will make up this classroom. I was a fresher myself, okay, when I joined, and I didn't have any understanding of anything that happens in office. And at the same time, I had, in my batch, most of the people who had 2-3 years of work experience, and I used to feel very, very challenged because they used to be able to connect a lot of things, right? But that does not make because this program is a great leveler, I would say, at the end of the day, right? Because you have these internships that come in between, you have corporate projects. The best thing that happens to people who are in NMIMS in Bombay is that this is the hub of all financial, commercial, all sorts of activities. So you have such an opportunity to work in so many corporate projects at any point in time, right? You do your corporate projects, you will know what you're liking and what you don't like to do. Right? When I started, this will only go on to prove how confused an individual I am. Like I said, right, I wanted to get into marketing, and then I said, no, I want to do HR. Now, when in HR, I thought I would love to do recruitment, and I think recruitment is my space because I really liked the professor, and whatever the professor did in class was fantastic. I used to get a very good grade in recruitment. So I only wanted to do recruitment all my life. I started out my first stint, they were mentioning you will have some stints. My first stint was in recruitment. I was over the moon. 3 months I did recruitment. I am never going back to recruitment. I cannot do it. I will not do it. My boss says, I will never put you in it. You will be a disaster. So it's that, right? That pivots are so quick that, you never know where you're going to land and where you're going to find your flow. It's only going to come through experience. When you are hands-on with something is only when you will know. So you may have experience, you may not have experience, but these 2 years are enough and plenty of time to give you practical exposure, thanks to summers, thanks to corporate projects, thanks to the case studies, thanks to interactions, and you will be in a reasonably comfortable space. Even then, once you land in an organization, you are going to be joining as a management trainee somewhere or the other. It will be 1 year, 2 year, depending on what is the appetite of the organization. You have your time to explore, you have your time to make mistakes. People are more than willing to listen to you, at least in those few years. And don't be so worried whether you land up in a completely out of whack place. You will find your flow. Maybe if not in the same organization, maybe in another organization at different points in time. There are multiple career switches, multiple career track changes that people have in their lifetime. It's all okay. It will be a point in time by the time the ice settles, but you'll be put, don't worry so much about it. There is no conspiracy in life.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shrezan. I am from MBHR.
So this is the last question. In the interest of time, yes, please continue.
So I want to know when tech is enabling in every field, so how HR is moving forward with the tech and what new opportunities are coming for us?
So see, the great disruption is very real in terms of the work that is happening everywhere, right? So when I talk about it, everything that we used to do in a particular way at a particular point of time is getting into the data digital space completely. So I was just sharing with Veena ma'am backstage itself, when I joined 10, 12 years back in my organization, we had everything that was more or less manual, all HR processes. Even for an organization of the scale of Reliance, we were actually working with most of it on a manual scale. Like, thinking of a company which has put out 5G right now, but that's how it was. 10 years it has taken for everything to pivot on its head to the company that we are right now, okay? So the skills that keep evolving are essentially changing because of the complete digital disruption. You may not understand how to use or how to code or how to make the systems work for you, but you need to understand how the systems work. So the skill or the talent is in actually understanding how to make the best utilization of what is coming. So digital is an imperative, whether you're in HR, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in finance, everything is now just getting accelerated towards the digital side of it. So your skill as an HR person for yourself, as well as for the workforce that you will be managing, is to help people make sense of what it is going to do and what it is not going to do, more importantly, right? So there is a domain of cerebral work that is repeatable, programmable, which is any which way is going to get disrupted because it is more efficient, it is faster, it will give you more accurate results. So desk jobs that are typically very, very repeatable are anyways gone. There is the second level which is coming in right now, which is predictive, which is some bit of, infringing into the thoughts of how humans think, right? You can actually program that also, okay? So where your space comes in is that the creativity aspect of it, how creative you can get with utilizing these machines and what are those human connections you can leverage to make an output which is greater than the sum of the parts that you're working with. I think that's where your skill will lie and that is where your success will also lie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
The questions were fun. I think the panelists would agree with that. But unfortunately, we have run out of time, so we'll want to end. You want to say?
I just want to please just say, ज़्यादा serious मत होना, okay? Now this is like very serious talk which we just did, but end of the day, you are here in Bombay. Most of you are from outside. Enjoy to the fullest. I think these are the 2 years which you really want to enjoy. While I'm sure you have enough and more projects which will keep on going on and on and on, and cups of coffee will typically go on and on. But just enjoy. This is your time. This is your life. Yeah. Don't worry. Like Achal was just saying, in the first year in management training, that again your honeymoon will still continue. Don't worry. उसके बाद काम चालू होगा. ठीक है, management trainee are the pampered lot, super pampered lot. Let me put it that way also. So don't worry, you have enough and more time. Don't take stress here. Just enjoy. You are right now in Juhu. What else? Let me just be, again, maybe 30 seconds more, Sachin. My example, I would not want to name the other college which I would have got admitted to, which was a shade superior, one of those fancy, the 3-letter word college, not a great location, right? I chose NMIMS simply because it was in Juhu. I was from Bhopal. I came here in Bombay. I saw how can anybody reject Juhu, yaar? And that too at that time, Meethi Bai, yaar. Meethi Bai सामने होता था. You guys don't know Meethi Bai, and she's from Meethi Bai. Forget about the Vada Pav, yeah. I'm talking about Meethi Bai. When you know Kareena Kapoor and Shahid Kapoor and everybody is in Meethi Bai, why would you want to go anywhere else, yeah? You are like right now at the cusp. Probably you are. That's the best thing which has happened to you. Let me be very frank with you. Yeah. That's the best thing. Enjoy your career to the fullest. You will have a great time. Pura career बचा हुआ है. Everybody will succeed. Don't worry about it. And MIMS degree will any which ways take you there. Don't worry about it. That's about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anurag, Anchal, and Gaurav. Can I have?
Meantime, I heard that you guys are going for Mumbai Darshan next week, most of you. Yeah? I think that's the thing which you would want to look forward to. Forget about these skill sets and the mindsets. That will continue. Chat GPT कर लेना सब मिल जाएगा आपको ये सब वापस. Yeah? But reels will become LinkedIn. So networking is very, very important. Try spend time on LinkedIn versus your Facebooks and the Instagrams. Yeah.
We request everyone to be back in the next 10 minutes as the next session would start by that time. Thank you.
May I have your attention, please? I want to start with a small exercise. Can everyone in the audience raise your index finger? Everyone raise your index finger. The index finger, okay, not the middle finger. Save the middle finger for graduation. All right. Now I want you to bring your finger close to your face. Place that finger on your lips. Now pay attention very, very carefully and repeat after me. Shh. Excellent. Now that I have your attention, my name is Geeta D'Souza. I am a faculty member in the HR area, and I am also the Student Activities Chairperson. And it is in that capacity that I am here today to introduce to you a very important group known as the Student Council. Now, I've been told you've already interacted a fair bit with the Student Council, several members of them at least during the summer. And you're going to meet some of them again today, and then throughout the 2 years that you're here, you're going to interact quite a bit with them. But for those people who still don't know what a student council is, at the School of Business Management, they're a group of students who serve as representatives to the entire student community. And they perform a very important role. They act as liaisons between the school's management and the student community. They coordinate, organize, and facilitate a variety of co-curricular and extracurricular activities for you. And they also oversee the work of different student cells, committees, and clubs. And quite significantly, they also contribute to the mission of this institution. Okay, now, one thing I want you to remember during your interactions with the Student Council, for any large event, any activity, they're going to present you with a set of instructions, rules, codes of conduct, even mandates. And I want you to know that these rules, instructions, they're not randomly created just to make things difficult for you, okay? They come straight from the top. They are approved by the school's administration and passed on to you via the Student Council. And they are there for a specific reason. Okay, whenever we have a large event, and especially a large gathering like this, it's important to define the boundaries of those interactions. Otherwise, things could get quite chaotic. And more than anything, at any event, what we want is for you to have the three things that are the most important to you. And that is your learning, your enjoyment, and finally, most importantly, your safety. All right? So remember this. And remember that whenever the Student Council presents you with any rules, instructions, etc., please listen carefully, trust them, cooperate fully with them, and adhere to any rules that they might give you. All right? So the Student Council is there to help you, and I need you to help them help you. I am now going to invite the President of Student Council, Brian David Raffi, to introduce his team to you, and then maybe talk a little bit about some of the events that they have lined up for you in the next few weeks, and also take any questions that you might have for them. Okay? So over to Brian.
Thank you, ma'am. So good afternoon, everyone. First, a very warm welcome to the batch of 2023-25. So I'm Brian. Essentially, as Geeta ma'am has already introduced us, now we have interacted with, I'd say most of you during prologue, and but still we are looking forward to interacting with each and every one of you in the coming academic year. So now moving on to the orientation process, I believe the orientation process so far has been going fine, and we believe that you have academically anticipated what is to come in the coming years. However, as the Student Council, we felt that it was imperative for you to understand the city that you're in. So for that, we've got an event plan for you. Do you have any idea which event am I referring to? Yeah. Exactly. Mumbai Darshan, now we have received a lot of questions and queries with regard to Mumbai Darshan as well. But I know it's coming off as an enigma right now, but you'll get to know about it in due time as to what the details are. So moving on to the next slide, as we're talking about questions, so this is the structure of the student council, and we again have received a lot of queries with regard to what specific cells do, what are the kind of cells that we have. So you can look at the screen on your sides, and very soon we would be introducing you to these cells, committees and clubs, and you can pose your queries at that point in time. So now moving to the next slide. So as the student council, one of our primary responsibilities is to enrich, to make your lives on campus better. And for that, you can reach out to us with any queries, with any questions, with anything that you have. So the numbers have been displayed on the screen. If you could please move to the next slide again. And we'll try and share these numbers with all the contact details with you on your official Telegram group as well, so that you can reach out to us with any queries that you have. Apart from that, we're located on the 7th floor of this building. So in case if there are any things that you would like to discuss with us in person, you can always reach out to us for that. And so like I mentioned, in our endeavor to make the processes better for you guys, right now we'll be opening the floor for any questions, feedback or queries that you have with regard to the onboarding process. For that, I'd like to invite Rishikesh Dwarkanath, the Vice President of the Student Council, and Tanuj Jadani, who's the General Secretary of the Student Council.
Thank you, Brian. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Rishikesh, and I am the Vice President of the Student Council.
And as Brian said, I'm Tanuj, I'm the General Secretary.
So, just to give you a brief overview of why this session was put in place, it's been about 3 to 4 months since you've received your offer letters to come and study in this prestigious institution. And apart from that, you spent a week over here. Can you guys hear me at the back? Yeah. So, you've spent a week here at college as well. We wanted to understand from your perspective as the student body that takes care of all students' interest here in the college, your feedback or your suggestions, your ideas on what you think can be improved or what can be implemented from a student perspective. So that is the primary purpose of the session. So the floor is open for queries, if any from your side.
Please feel free to ask any questions or any problems that you face during the onboarding process, so we can ensure that it does not get repeated for the next batch.
And also your queries. So Brian talked about cells as well. So feel free to ask any queries that you have. If we could have the mic to the students.
I just wanted to know that any events which are going to happen, where are we getting the notifications regarding that? Is there any common portal where we getting the notifications or notice boards and it will happen like that? Just was curious.
Hi, so any communication regarding any event that is supposed to happen in the college, you will be receiving an official mail regarding it, and whatever event requires from your end, it will also be outlined in that email itself. So there's no portal as such. Be sure to check your email regularly about any updates for the same.
Okay, thank you.
I think we had some students here in the front.
I had a question. I wanted to know how can one become a member of the student council, and the second question is, are the first year MBA students allowed to be only members in the club, or do they have some kind of leadership positions available?
So just to give you a brief structure, every cell that you've noticed here in the structure that we presented, including the student council, you all will get a chance to be part of it as junior committee members. Now the process with regard to that, how do you interact, what are the restrictions, if any, in terms of participating in multiple clubs, cells, etc., will be shortly provided to you. So you can wait until those instructions come, but it will you'll know everything to know about everything. Hope that answers your question. If not, please do ask. Yeah, Shubham.
So I wanted to ask if the student council at SBM is integrated with the other clubs at the school, and how?
So I'm sure in the structure that Brian presented, all the cells, clubs and committees that are a part of SBM NMIMS, the student council is associated with each of them.
Okay, thank you.
If you could raise your hands if you have any queries so that it's easier to get the mic to you.
Guys, feel free to ask any questions, or if you have some constructive criticism about the process, we are happy to hear about that as well.
We have
Hello. Is the process democratic for the student council, or is it?
So the details regarding all selection processes, how to apply, where to apply, what kind of rounds are there will be communicated in due time. I'm sure you've heard this a lot in the coming weeks, but we do have an elaborate session planned for you guys so that you get acclimatized to the cells, clubs and committees in college, so that it is a very transparent process for you.
So you would be aware when the selection process happens for the student council in particular and all the cells and committees that we presented to you today. You will be aware of every step as to how the selection process takes place, and if you're moving on to the next process or if you're not, you will be communicated to by each and every cell or club that you apply to. So yes, it will be a democratic process. Don't worry about that. You will know what you're being selected for.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello. So my question is that what are the roles and responsibilities of the members of the student council?
Hello. Yeah. Hi. So with guys, if I could get your attention here. See, the session has been organized for you guys. So if a friend of yours is asking a query, I think it would be important for you as well, right? To answer your question, we have multiple roles in the student council. I do get it, the fact that both of us, over the past few weeks, you have received information that you will get the information that you require in the coming weeks. The reason why is that it's a structured process. So you have certain events that line up for the entire year for the first years. So we don't want to overburden you with a lot of information, right? So everything with regard to the selection process, how can you go about choosing which club and committee you want to be part of, what are the roles and responsibilities within each club, cell, student council for the matter, will be communicated to you. Don't worry.
Is student council going to plan any fresher party for us?
Further details will be communicated to you shortly.
Guys, any further questions? We would, yeah.
Hi. So I would like to ask, is there a question you will actually answer?
So, as we both are trying to say, the reason why we're not divulging any information very transparently is because things have to go in a certain planned manner. And we have certain activities that you need to complete so that you can get acclimatized to these cells, clubs and committees. Outside of these, we would want feedback about the orientation process also. And see, all questions right now have been on the same strata. That's why you're getting the same kind of response from us. If you have any other question, we would be happy to answer.
Okay, that was on a lighter note only, but one more question. Is the selection process entirely student driven, or there are some faculty members involved for the selection process as well?
So the student selections for the junior committees will be entirely driven by the senior committees. Yes, the final lists will be shared with the faculty in charges of each cell and club, so they will be aware as to how the selection process has been taken place. If, for example, you're selected in a particular club or cell, that particular cell's faculty in charge will be aware as to why you've been selected, how was your selection process like. So yes, they will be aware.
Okay, but they are not going to be a part of the selection actually?
No.
Thank you.
They will have an overview, they will know what is happening, but directly they will not be interviewing you.
They will have your applications, but in participating in the interviews itself would be dependent on the senior committees.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I just have one feedback. So all the orientation process was pretty smooth, but while receiving the schedules of a particular classes, there were different mails with different timing and different rooms. So instead of it, we could get one mail wherein all the schedules with respect to classes timing and the class in which we need to sit would have been given, so it would have been better for us.
So yeah, hi. Which course are you part of?
MBA Co.
Okay, and what was the exact problem that you faced? How, you got multiple mails which were contradictory in nature? Or?
Yeah, some of that we received revised mail again and again, and when it comes to schedule, so in one mail there was a particular class, in another mail there was a particular class. So instead of it, we could have sent up one mail wherein all the schedule would have presented in a single format.
So feedback taken. Now what usually happens is, for all of your awareness, there are 8 courses under SBM, alright? So the suggestion with regard to sharing all schedules is not feasible because it's again information that you would not need. But with regard to a specific course's scheduling, there are certain times wherein, if for example, let's say a particular room is booked for you, there are certain scheduling errors that happen, or there is a need for that particular room for another purpose. So in that case, the dates, the rooms change, but this is very rare. On a very rare basis it happens, and usually what happens, if there's a change, you'll be informed prior. So this might be a one-off, but yes, we will take back the feedback to the coordinator. Thank you.
Just one before we take your question. We have some questions from the classrooms as well. So we have been asked, would we get a guided campus tour to know what all amenities and resources we have? So I'm sure you guys have seen a campus, seen the campus. It's a building. It's pretty self-explanatory. So I would please explore on your own. If you have any questions as to what amenities are there, where can we find certain, say, classroom, student council areas or something, you can reach out to any one of us and we'll be happy to guide you through it. And there's one more question, like some of us are singers, musicians. Is there any place in campus where we can gather, jam together? So I'm not sure if you've run into it, but there's a grand piano in the atrium itself that would classify as a jamming place, and otherwise you can take up in individual classrooms if you guys want to get together. That's it. Your question, please.
Hi. So on the similar lines of the email thing, it's just that some of our emails were sent on our Gmail account, and post 3rd or 4th June, half of them were sent on Outlook. So it becomes difficult to keep a track of these mails. So from next time, can you just send them on one platform?
Sure. So the thing about this is, before people actually cancel their admissions, we have to make sure that the IDs are activated. So any communication before that time would be receiving on the Gmail account, but feedback duly noted, we try to ensure that all communication happen on the same place.
Thank you.
A mic there, please.
Hi. So the student council has a sports secretary, but what are the sports facilities that are offered on campus? Because all I know is that there's a table tennis, but what are the other facilities?
So there is a sports room, as you rightly mentioned. There's a table tennis, there's carom, there's a pool table. That is it in campus, but the sports secretary, the sports cell in SBM and NMIMS do ensure that there are regular events so that the students in SBM do get involved in these events and participate in them either for leisure or for competitive sports.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. One at the back.
So my question is, do we get an edge on placements if we are part of student council?
Could you please repeat that, please?
Do we get an edge on placements if we are a part of student council?
No.
So if you get associated with any cell, club or committee, you'll get a position of responsibility, but how to capitalize on your involvement in this, in any cell for that matter, would be dependent on your ability to guide your interview to that conclusion. One in the middle. Hi, could you please raise your hand again? Yeah, so.
Hi, actually I have already sent the request and filled a Google form, but I have not been added to the Telegram group.
So
there is a process, we are aware of this, and we have maintained it multiple times that there is a process that you have to follow. In case after multiple times you are not able to get into the Telegram group, we have shared with you the numbers here. Reach out to Shruti Bahirat, who's our student affairs head. You will get through, but if you do have the link to a Telegram group, you would be finding that there are guidelines attached to that, right? We have onboarded almost 99% of the batch in the Telegram group. So maybe there's some miscommunication from your end. So please ensure you follow the guidelines and definitely you'll be in.
Actually, I was contacted by some of you, but they don't respond to 3-4 days. That's
On
the issue.
which platform did you?
Telegram, I was contacted by them.
Okay, and your good name?
Ayush.
Oh, yes,
Ayush Padhi.
Sure, we'll take this into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for conducting this session. And I wanted to ask you, like, what are the different events does Student Council organize? And does it organize the event called Equilibria?
So Equilibria is a cell, but apart from, with respect to your question, every event that happens, you'll receive a timeline soon, the calendar that the events that take place for SBM NMIMS. So that would answer your question. There are a lot of events every month. Yeah, you would have received your academic calendar as well, right? In that, there would be mention of certain events. So, primarily, those are the main events that happen that are facilitated by the student council along with the multiple clubs and cells that are part of the SBM family. So, you would be receiving information. Again, connecting back to your peers' question as well, with regard to cells and student council, how do you get in or what are the activities that take place? You'll receive a detailed timeline as well as information with regard to each cell, student council, the members and what they do. You'll get that soon, don't worry.
Sure, thank you. And just a follow-up question for the same. And can you share your experience with working in student council over 1 year?
I mean, I'll keep it short because ultimately the session is not for talking about the student council, to be fair on the other cells and committees that we have. But as a student council, you can understand, all of you have been part of it some point or the other in colleges or your school. It's that we overtake all kinds of student activities and we oversee student participation. We ensure that any problem that you face, whether it's regard to participation or in general with regard to the college, if you feel that there's something that can be improved or you're facing any kind of trouble, that's where we come in and pitch in. And speaking personally as being part of the student council, it's been great and I would love to tell you more when the time for that comes.
Compared to the last year, the batch size has increased this year. So are the student intake in the councils or the number of councils going to be increased?
So I'm not sure, but you wouldn't be aware of last year's intake, right? Even if we...
No, we were told, right? 550 was the last year's batch.
That was the batch size, the student council intake. So the thing about student activities is we want to ensure that each and every student gets the chance to be a part of the cell and club that they want to be in. So the number as to how many would be a part of that cell or that club or that committee would be decided on the pro rata basis as to how many people do apply to it. Okay, so to simply answer your question, you would not be knowing exactly how many people go in, but you would be free to apply wherever you want.
And just to add on that, the batch size has no relation with the amount of either senior committee members or junior committee members in any club or council for that matter.
Okay, thank you.
One in the front here.
I can repeat the question. I think your peer is mentioning what kind of documents would you be requiring in college, if I'm not wrong? Okay.
Is it with regard to the submission of documents, right? So all of you would have submitted a list of documents in your dashboards or portal that you would have received from the time of applying to NMIMS. And I'm assuming that in your offer letters, there's a date that's been mentioned as well for which you have to submit. But in terms of who do you need to contact, you can reach out to your course coordinators from whom you receive mails with regard to your schedules and any other miscellaneous information. You can reach out to them and they'll be happy to resolve it for you.
And accordingly, I think the only document that is required a physical copy of is the migration certificate, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, regarding that, I had a problem.
Okay.
Actually, in DU, I have passed out last year.
Okay.
And I have not received the original document. They just sent a soft copy, and that's all.
Got it. So this issue has been faced years on. Every DU year is the same. You can contact the admissions department where you have to submit the migration certificate. You can take a print of the same and ensure that the admission department knows that this is the only copy that DU gives, and they would be happy to help you with it.
Thank you, sir.
What would be helpful also for you in that case is try to get a proper formal mail from your college stating that they only provide a soft copy of the migration. And you can attach that email proof when you send a mail to the admission team here or to your course coordinator.
Hi, I wanted to communicate my appreciation and gratitude for the orientation program. It was really amazing. Every single event was very helpful. Clap, guys. But there is...
Guys, please maintain decorum. We want to hear him out.
There is some amount of comfort and empathy that you can only get from your seniors, and they weren't present in the orientation week. So if that can be improved.
Yeah, so the reason why they weren't present in the orientation week is everyone was in or still is in their summer internship programs, and they'll be so the senior batch would be coming in next week, and you can reach out to anyone that you see on campus for any problem that you face, and I'm sure the whole batch, us included, would be happy to help you out.
Like we mentioned earlier, the student council is always there to help you out. So you can feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you so
7th
much.
floor, next to room 711.
Thank you.
One at the back.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so we just received mails that our divisions have been changed. So will they keep on changing or will this remain same for the next 2 years?
Which course are you from?
MBA core.
MBA core.
Yeah.
So the divisions will not change moving henceforth, but this isn't the reason but it's changed is because we have to manage your schedules, right? So just for the orientation week, there were certain changes that were made, but your coordinator will be informing you. So from next week onwards, when your classes proper trimester 1 starts, you'll be allocated a division and there won't be changes after that.
Okay, thanks.
Think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions if anyone has.
If you could raise your hands, please, so we can get the mic towards you.
So thank you guys for your feedback on this session. We look forward to interacting with each and every one of you. You, as Brian, Rishi and I mentioned, you can reach out to us at any time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Yeah, just one last thing, as the lady in the front blatantly voiced out the fact that you were not getting the exact answers or the precise answers that you expected. So we were in the same place last year. We had the same questions. But you'll soon understand that there's a reason why you're not being given precise answers at this point in time. So everything would be communicated to you in due time. Thank you.